As we told you earlier, we're going to have a great conversation. It's the JoyBusiness partnership with PricewaterhouseCoopers and leading to us to have this great event. And prior to that, we're having some great interaction as well. And it's to help entrepreneurs understand taxes and the tax laws and the way they work, and tend to mold and help entrepreneurs and enterprises to become what they have to be based on what their profitability objectives are. Daryl Kwao has been speaking to the head of thought leadership of the multimedia group in Shirado on what the whole event is about.
Two reasons. You'd recall that there's been a number of changes in the tax regime by way of legislation. Certain individual tax bands have been reduced or changed, and business taxes have also changed. What it means is that there are a number of businesses out there that are scratching their heads thinking, okay, how do we do this and not fall foul of the law, and also remain efficient, because eventually businesses are out there to make a profit. But if you are not filing your taxes intelligently, you probably end up paying for things that you didn't need to pay for. But we don't know these things by our normal training and our normal trade. So businesses would have to speak to experts. And we felt that as a media organization, we have a responsibility to the wider community that includes businesses to enlighten, empower, and not just entertain, but also educate them so they know what to do when changes like this happen. So we, sought out a partnership with PwC, and they thought it was a novel idea, and they joined us and gave us all the support. They're providing the technical expertise across 4 tax areas, so that indirect taxes, personal taxes, direct taxes, and I think income.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first time we are holding this. What's going to be the nature of this forum?
So the forum is actually under a broader name, which is the JoyBusiness Knowledge Series. But this first one is themed IntelliTax, paying your taxes intelligently.
That's the hashtag, right? That's
right, and there's also the hashtag IntelliTax. Now, we will start over with a short address and a presentation, after which we'll have all 4 tax experts on a panel to have a discussion. And then we'll have a very, very, very in-depth Q&A session with the attendees. So they can come in with any questions that they have and talk to these experts and walk away understanding how they can, make the most of the new legislation. Because taxes really aren't meant to hurt businesses. Right? If it's hurting you, then maybe there's something you may not be doing right. But it's better to know. And that's why we're putting this together. And it's in partnership with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they're the power in our wings.
So what category of businesses are you targeting? Can anyone just work there? I imagine it's already booked.
To be honest with you, I doubt that there's room for any more booking at the moment. But ideally, we're looking for small to medium enterprises. They make up the bulk of businesses in the country. Multinationals tend to already have these things in place. SMEs, though, aspire to grow, don't tend to have all of these things in place. So it would be good to have SMEs. And to participate, really, you need to send an email to joybusiness@myjoyonline.com. But these are the people we're looking for, so that we can help them be good citizens and help their businesses grow while the economy also gets well and better, and government has the right revenue to fund all the great things that they want to do.
Okay, and so you say that this is in partnership with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Which speakers are we expecting from PwC at the event?
They'll have lots. The entire tax unit are going to be there. The senior tax partner will be there. They're going to interact with the businesses and share their insights with them.
All right, and we talked about the fact that it was overbooked, but the great thing about it is that tomorrow is going to be live on radio and TV.
Yes, on radio and television. The core of the conversation will be on radio and television. The part that I think our audience will not catch would be the opportunity to ask certain questions. But however, what you can do ahead of the event tomorrow would be to send your questions, tweet at us, but use the hashtag IntelliTax. It's INTE ITAX. That's right. So send that question using that hashtag IntelliTax, and we will field the questions in our conversation before we go into the in-depth Q&A. So at least some of them can be answered. But unfortunately, if you're not in a room, you will get some of the information. We'll try as much as possible to bring you a lot of it.
And Mama V is right there. She's going to bring us the latest. We'll do some previews and then the mainstream conversations on this all intelligent way of making sure that you know and also file your taxes correctly and deal with your taxes as a corporate organization or enterprise is right up. Mama V Osobwaje from the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel. Good morning to you, Mama V. What do you have for us?
Good morning. Well, good morning, Roland. So you're right. I'm here at the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel, and it's the first in the series. It's the knowledge series by JoyBusiness. It's powered by PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and it's all about paying tax intelligently. And I have a taxman joining me for a conversation before the main one inside the hall, which would happen very soon. So let me just quickly introduce Mr. George Kwetia, his partner, Director Tax Services, but he's the lead taxman at PwC. I find that very interesting. Good morning to you. Thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.
First of all, why has it become necessary to reach the people the way we intend doing it with this knowledge series?
Okay, thank you, Mama. The reason why we're doing this is in two folds. We realize that there's the need to support medium and small scale businesses to grow. We, being consultants or business advisors, have now taken a step back to look at areas that we can support the medium size and the small firms to grow. And we believe that education is one of the key areas, and especially in the area of tax. For people who are in these sectors, tax readily doesn't come on their mind. It's more about growth of their business. There's been a clarion call by government to widen the tax net, and we feel that it is appropriate and fit and proper for us to support the informal sector to be compliant, the informal sector to respond to this call, the informal sector to play their part and their role.
Let's put the whole paying tax into proper perspective.
Yeah.
Beyond paying income tax and the other taxes that when you buy, you pay indirectly, what is a small business expected to do?
Well, if you look at the Income Tax Act, unfortunately, the laws of our country are crafted and drafted not with a mindset of the small and medium scale enterprise in mind. They target the big corporate multinationals, and that's the way our laws are generally being crafted.
But isn't that where the big money is?
That is so, but incidentally, if you do that, then you find yourself in a situation where at the end of the day, you are always targeting the people who you already have in your tax net, but those who are probably too small to be caught in the net because the holes of the net are significantly larger than their size. If you do not take a step back and reconsider what you're doing, you may not get them. And I think that is why there's the need. I would have even wished that there is a special tax legislation to deal with the informal sector. Why? Because it is a very large sector. The small scale, the medium scale is a very significant sector in our economy. And if we want to grow as a nation, we cannot ignore a significant sector like that.
Absolutely. So what's the practice now? What do small businesses do?
Well, if you look at the Income Tax Act, there is a section, actually Schedule 2, deals with modified basis of taxation, where if you have an individual who earns income from business, it's taxed differently, either on we have this quarterly installment basis, where you would realize that if you are a hairdresser or a mechanic or so, on quarterly basis, they pay some pedal amount or whatever. And then the law also clearly, that is for those whose revenues or incomes would not exceed 20,000 Ghana cedis for now. Where you earn above 20,000 to 200,000, which is the de minimis for registration for VAT, then it is expected that you pay a turnover tax of 3%. The reason why they're looking at this modified basis of taxation is built on the assumption that that sector would not keep or do not have the ability to keep proper records. And therefore, if you target a tax which is a function of their turnover, it becomes easier for them to understand. It's simple enough, and then they comply appropriately.
Okay.
If they don't even have any basis of recording, and an estimated tax is given them, and they know they are paying it on quarterly basis, if they are properly educated on that, they are more than willing to pay. So we do have the modified basis of taxation in our law.
But as we speak, how many of these people pay taxes?
I think the issue is, if you want to look at it closely, if you should ask them, they will tell you they pay taxes.
Okay.
Because like you rightly said, once you pay consumption tax, for instance, VAT, if you buy anything, there's a VAT in it, and that person considers himself as a taxpayer. So we cannot rule out the fact that they are not paying taxes. But I think the challenge is whether the amount or the tax they are paying is adequate and reasonable as far as it reflects their business income.
Okay.
I think that is the challenge.
Okay. But I'm just thinking, the plan is to get small businesses to come forward and pay the appropriate tax.
Yeah.
What's the trick? How do we get them to do that willingly?
Well, there are a whole lot of things that come into play. First, we need to understand and appreciate why are they not paying taxes? Why the informal sector not contributing so-called its quota as far as taxation is concerned? Once we know the reasons why they do not comply or they do not contribute that much, then we can find solutions.
Okay, let me just ask a quick one. Is it something that you walk to like an office to say, I am paying this, or how? Is somebody billing you to pay?
Well, if you look at the way our tax system is, nobody is going to bill you to pay. You need to understand the basis of the tax payment, and then you now settle your tax liability. You file a return, and then you pay your taxes. You can hire an advisor or a consultant to keep your books, to do your returns for you, and then you pay the tax. But in the case of the modified basis of taxation, as I mentioned to you